Okay, so here's some wood that I had turned into little cylinders. There's 4 of them, 2 3/8. It was from a Bradford pear limb that I had cut down off my tree. I turned it and rough turned it on May 25th, 2018. And it's been sitting in this box inside some sawdust. So I'm opening up right now for the first time. Let's just see what it looks like inside there. Put it inside some wood. And here's one cylinder that's turned. I'm actually going to make some cups out of them. So it looks like it survived pretty well. The 2 years drying out. It looks like it's pretty dry right now. It doesn't have a lot of cracks in it. So I think that'll be fine. Let's look at the other one. There's another cylinder in here. Here's another Bradford pear cylinder. I'm going to make some cups out of this on my lathe. So it looks like that did pretty good. No cracks in that, so that'll make a good cup. And then here's another cylinder. It doesn't look like there's a lot of cracks on this end either, so I think this will work out pretty good. And I've also got some things from I think it's oak that I had turned also. This is another little styrofoam container that I had, and I put these pieces in that I had turned, and I turned them green, so they were real wet, and I wanted them to dry out. So let's see what's in this one here. I haven't opened this one here up for 2 years. So let's just see what's in here. Here's a piece of, I don't know what kind of wood this is, but this might be some Bradford pear too, or it might be some peach, but here's some stuff that's been turned, and I'm trying to get it turned while it's green a little bit, and now I can put it back on the lathe and finish turning it, and it should be able to make a good cup or a bowl without splitting. So let's take a look and see what else is in this. See what else is in here that I put. I've got a couple more cylinders. These have been drying in here for 2 years, so they've got a lot of things on this, so I'll be able to put this back on the lathe and turn it, and it's all dry. So let's see how this works. And turn all of these into cups and bowls, and they should be able to turn pretty nice without splitting and cracking and exploding on my lathe. So let's see. Okay, so I started with this piece of what I think is Bradford pear, and I put it on the lathe. It's about 5 inches in diameter and probably about, maybe 6 or 7 inches long. And I put it on the lathe right there, and I'm trying to turn it now. It's been drying for the last 2 years, and so I've got to kind of whittle it down here just a little bit so I can get it round. And once I get it round, then I'll put the sand to it. I was just trying to think back. It had been probably at least maybe 12 or 13 months since I've used the lathe last. I actually put it up for a little while. Did school, refereed basketball, volleyball, and did some JMC stuff. So that's the idea then, is to turn it round, and I'm doing that with my chisel there. And then I've also got to chisel off the ends and establish some kind of a tenon that I can use my chuck jaws, can actually grab a hold of, and that way I can hold on to the top and hold on to the bottom of the jar that I'm making here. So I sand it with some real rough, 80 grit, and then put some 220 on there, and I sand it with that, and try to sand it smooth. I'm just actually kind of testing, see if I can kind of remember how to do all this. I'd done some lathe work about 3 years ago, and now I'm just kind of starting to find these things that I've been saving for a long time. This is 2 years for this piece of wood here. So here I'm actually skinning up the tenon right there so I can make it, and that way my jaw chucks can kind of actually hang on to it. So I'm making that. I've sanded it down now, the face of it now to 220, and on each end I'll go ahead and make a tenon so that my chucks can hang on to it. right there. I'm kind of marking the top of the lid. I'm going to actually take it and use my little skew chisel to go ahead and just make a little mark, and then I'll take it over to the miter saw and cut it. And I've already cut it, and I've loaded it up now on my Nova jaw chuck and put it on there. I bring the other side up, tighten it up, and now I'm going to kind of round it out and make sure and set the little tenon that's going to hold the lid for it. So I put that out there now, and I mark the inside. All of that comes out there on the inside. So I have to move my tools around a little bit as I do this. I've actually put this all in fast motion, and it's going pretty fast here, probably about 6 times normal speed. And now I'm going to start kind of hollowing out the inside of the jar. And again, I hadn't done this in a while, so I was a little timid on exactly how, if I remember how to do this. Using different tools, make sure that I don't get a catch inside there. But that's about the size of the inside for the tenon for the lid to sit in. And once I got to kind of measure to see how far my chisel's got to go in there to hollow that out. Make sure I'm at the right depth. You don't want to go through the bottom of it. And the real trick in that is when you're chiseling that out is to get a real nice straight line. I didn't do very good in that, but I just kind of figured that I could sand some of the marks out, and again, I'm just kind of testing to see if I kind of remember how to do this. So it's been a while since I'd made one of these. And the more I'm looking at that, I think that it's actually peach wood. A neighbor had a tree that, I think that's peach wood that I'm using. It's not a very good piece. It's got some blemishes. Now I'm loaded up the lid to the Nova jaw chucks, and I'm hollowing out the inside of the lid. Actually, I kind of have to make a mark for that lid lip to go over the tenon of the jar, and then I hollow out the rest of it. I didn't go too far on the lid to hollow it out to within a 1/4 inch. I just kind of made enough to where the tenon could fit inside there. And so I was trying to get as tight a fit as I could, and I did okay. It was a little bit loose when I lined it up, and once I got it there, I just kind of sanded it all down. And then I had to kind of figure the finish, and since I actually had those 2 tenons left on there, I took both of those tenons from the jaw chuck. I took both of those tenons to the miter saw, cut off as much as I could, and put it on my table sander and sanded it down like I could right there. So here I'm kind of sanding it, the lid, and getting it kind of smooth up to 220. I didn't do a very good job of putting the camera in the right position. The camera should have been back a little bit further, so it could have got a little bit better shot on some of this. Now here I'm applying the wax to all of it. It's kind of nice. You apply a great big glob of it, spin the chuck around a little bit, and then you can actually turn it on and rub it in real nice and smooth. You can get it in there, and then I let it dry for a day or two. Let all the wax dry, and then I just kind of buff it out. Buff it out by hand with a nice soft cotton cloth, and that produces a pretty good finish. I mean, it's here I'm applying the wax to the bottom of the jar. Still got the tenon on both of them, so I've got to cut those off, sand them off, and then I go ahead and take some wax and I wax off. I wax up the part where the tenon was, and so I'm just kind of looking at it right there. I get it sanded down. I get it where I want it. Apply a little bit more wax. Next video I make, I'm going to put the camera back just a little bit so it's not quite so close. It could be a little bit easier to see. And I'll put wax around the whole thing. Put a thick coat on there. Rub it in, let it dry. Rub it off. And I got a little jar.